real temper. She was one of the few people who got to understand that type of rage, who he was. There was a monster that came out of him that nobody knew about.
But then after Nisa, I was Kim.
Kim Porter was a model, sometime actor, great smile. One of those girls that's just like so pretty. She was Andre Harrell's assistant at Uptown Records. Puff told me how they first met. He was working as an A&R at Uptown Records, and then she was the first face that he would see when he got out the elevator. And he fell in love with her. And he said, by all means necessary, I'm gonna get her. And that was his mission.
Puff's a little older now when he met Kim. And Kim was starting to slowly but surely teach Sean what love looked like. It's not fighting all the time, it's this. And he started to receive it. He started changing his ways a little bit. He softened up for a minute. He wasn't so triggered, he wasn't so reactive. He was trying to become a good man.
His relationship with Kim Porter, I knew that it was an on-again, off-again relationship. They would, break up, get back together.
But then there's the infidelity. Kim Porter, a woman he described as the love of his life and the mother of 4 of his children, witnesses his relationship with Jennifer Lopez just flood the media.
I was there in the beginning of the Jennifer days. Just like all the other girls, Sean goes all the way to get you. Sean wanted J-Lo, and he got her.
When we talk about Kim and Sean, I don't see them the way I saw Sean and J-Lo. They would be at the same function but not together type thing. Not like him and Jennifer Lopez. You publicly see him at red carpet events.
So what we see is a man who claimed to love this woman more than any other woman, but was not necessarily treated that way.
I've seen him act around Kim in ways that were just awful and very mean. I knew her well enough to occasionally socialize with her. It was a last-minute girls' night. Kim Porter and some other girlfriends. And then I see Puffy come into the club. I really thought he was coming in to kick it. I thought he was about to squeeze into the booth. And it was about to be really about to turn up, But everything just turned on a dime. It was not a cool situation at all. He just started hollering at her, but she should be at home, not out. And then he grabbed her handbag and literally turned it upside down. He just emptied it out in front of everybody. I was so in shock. The reason people do things like that is just to shame you and make you feel small. To scare you. I never saw him put a hand on her. But as we all know, that's not the only kind of abuse.
It was a controlling situation. Puff felt like he could do whatever he wanted to do. Puff was definitely abusive toward Kim. I remember one time telling him, I can understand you having a problem with one person, but when you have a problem with every woman you're dealing with, then you gotta look into yourself.
So certainly now we know that there were signs of some of the abuse he would be accused of later. It seemed that because there were never any real consequences for him, his behavior escalated.
I was a producer and an engineer for Bad Boy Records for about 12 years. And Puffy over time became more aggressive about what the company could do and what the vision for the company was.
Bump somebody.
There's a clip of him, he hangs up the phone and he jumps up and he
exclaiming, "Whatever I want, I have to get." It was a really raw moment. It was just a clear window into how he thought and how he operated.
The case involving Steve Stout, helped to expose him for who he was and the kind of mafia way he went about, trying to bring people in line.
Steve Stout is a pretty important executive, a marketing genius. In the music business, he was working with Nas at the time. And Puff had done a song with Nas called Hate Me Now.
And just like any other event, this thing was being built up. You heard the Nas join with Puff? It's crazy.
In retrospect, it almost sounds ridiculous if Nas and Diddy would be on a song together. But of course, Diddy gives Nas a visibility that Nas doesn't have quite yet.
In the video, they ended by being crucified like Jesus, in an obvious visual Jesus analogy. Nas and Puff together.
But then Diddy doesn't like the way that he's depicted in the music video and wants it to be changed.
But the version of the video with Puff and Nas being crucified in the desert was service to MTV. And Puff was extraordinarily upset. And he went to Steve's office.
He went in with his people and assaulted him. When he did that to Steve Stout, it became one of the biggest stories.
The Steve Stout incident is incredibly telling. I mean, this was over a music video. So what we're learning is that there are almost no lengths that Puffy will go to if he feels that his ego has been hurt, if his pride has been hurt, if his demands haven't been complied with.
He goes into court, and the prosecution can say, "Judge, we reached an agreement that Mr. Combs would plead to Mr. Puff walks out of the court." 1 day of anger management. In the courtroom, judge actually said, "Mr. Combs, do you remember me?" And Puff says, "I can't say that I do." So the judge said, "You have quite a history," because he's always getting away, some of the cases that the public doesn't know about. A source actually told these records he had this knack for actually getting the system to like him and to go easy on him, where he kept avoiding going to jail.
A lot of this really worked to Puffy's advantage in the hip-hop world. You don't want to be seen as someone that the streets can't respect, where everybody can run all over you.
There ended up being a lot of violence. I think it just was something that was always a part of his emotional DNA in a way.
Diddy at trial believed his father, Melvin, died in a car accident. But as he grew older, he came to find out that that wasn't really the case. So Diddy learned that his dad was part of a drug organization up in Harlem.
Puff's father, Melvin, was connected to Frank Lucas, one of the biggest drug dealers in Harlem, and he was connected to the mafia.
There is a video Diddy posted on Father's Day where he talks about his dad, and there's a real sense of loss and kind of an admiration as well for him. And the things that people have long said about Combs, that he is really determined, that he's like a world conqueror, he credits those traits to his dad.
Even if we don't know our parents, we still have their DNA in us. I have this hustler's mentality, this hustler spirit, drive, this determination.
So I think it just was something that he's had to grapple with, that his father had been a drug dealer and had been killed in the game. Sometimes I wonder if that was something he was proud of, or something that he was ashamed of, or something that he may have, emulated. I mean, the record company was called Bad Boy Records. It wasn't called Good Band. It's called Bad Boy.
I worked with Puffy in 2023. Puffy mentioned once that he shot a person in a club when J-Lo was with him. He said he's done a lot of things before, and sometimes he could be a person over-exaggerating. It's like, okay, he's talking that stuff. He's been sipping juice or whatever it is. But when I told somebody that, they said no. There was a situation that happened in a club with J-Lo where Shine went to jail for the shooting. I'm trying to Google S-H-I-N-E. I only realized, no, it's S-H-Y-N-E.
Shine was known around the Flatbush area as a young guy who could spit. And Puffy played on young people's desire to want to be in the spotlight. Sean Puffy Cool says, look, hang with me. He's now being considered the next big thing in hip-hop. He was growing, he was going to be big. No one expected it to turn out the way it turned out.
I will never forget the first time I heard about the 1999 club shooting. It was shocking.
I've spent a quarter of a century with my integrity and my name in doubt in light of the current atmosphere with the lawsuits and all of the stories that have come out. I knew it was time for me to speak up.
This is something that was in my past and it belongs in the past. But I can no longer just remain silent. This is the first time I've shared my story on camera. I started driving for Mr. Combs in 1999. On December 26th, I was informed that Mr. Combs would be requiring my services. I drove down to the studio to pick up Mr. Combs and Jennifer. Mr. Combs got in the vehicle, and I happened at one point to glance over my shoulder, and I noticed him holding a black handgun. No words were exchanged. We made eye contact. He said nothing. I said nothing. And I proceeded en route to Club New York.
I haven't been in the club scene or anything for the better part of a month. Honestly, I really wasn't going out, but one of my good friends, who's a party promoter, she wanted me to come out, and I wanted to support her endeavors.
Puff arrives with his entourage, and they go to the VIP section.
There started to be a crowd walking through, coming from the dance floor.
People are gravitating towards the VIP section, and there were some people who just say, this guy's showing off. People were telling Puffy, you ain't shit, you're in this, you're in that.
Next thing you know, we see pushing and shoving, the crowd is swaying. You hear like angered voices.
And they bumped into Puffy, and Shine just uttered, I'm tired of this shit.
I start to see Puffy and Shine backing away from the area of the melee towards the door. And I see them reaching their waists. So I turn to tell my friends, oh my God, let's go. Watch out, something's getting ready to go down. And just as I turn back and I look at them, I see them both holding guns, and God said to me, be still, you're about and I turn my head and I'm like, oh my God. I got shot in my face. I felt myself separated. And the cold air rushed towards my chest and passed through me. I could feel it pass through me. I was certain that I was going to be dead at that moment. I didn't think a human could lose that much blood and still be alive. But I just... I knew my life was never going to be the same again.
At that moment, Puffy is trying to make the great escape. It's just chaos.
Shine was in custody of the police. Mr. Combs, his security guy, Wolf, and Jennifer Lopez comes out. I'm instructed to let's go, let's get out of here. I was driving through the red lights, evading the police. I noticed the rear passenger window over my right shoulder had been opened. I later found out that was when Mr. Combs apparently tossed his weapon out of the vehicle. Mr. Combs and Wolf were screaming, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, seated next to me. I noticed another gun in Wolf's waistband. And then a cruiser had come out blocking 8th Avenue. And I said, chase is over. We are all escorted into the police precinct. That's when, out of the side of his mouth, Mr. Combs says, yo, I'll give you $50,000 to take the gun. And he was saying this under his breath, of course, because we were right in front of the desk sergeant. Puffy reaches onto his pinky and says, I will give you this diamond ring, which is worth $300,000 to hold as collateral if you don't think I'm good for the money. I did not want to take the bribe, but the phrase on the street is, snitches get stitches.
Before it even began, the trial of Sean Puffy Combs had turned into a tabloid torrent.
A high-profile case that's attracted overwhelming support from Combs' diehard fans. Puffy's future is in the hands of 12 jurors and faces up to 15 years in prison on charges of weapons possession and bribery.
Sean Combs, in the early 2000s, it's about selling a lifestyle, selling a brand. So he really had to protect his reputation and his freedom at all costs in this moment.
His high-powered defense team, including Johnny Cochran,
Johnny Cochran is known as the O.J. Simpson lawyer.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
There was another attorney by the name of Benjamin Braffman, one of the top criminal defense attorneys in the city. So we're defending Puffy, Shine, Wolf, and Puffy. They all have separate lawyers.
It was really two trials. It was this great celebrity, Puffy Combs, and his bodyguard. And Shine, really just a New York City teenager that had just signed the deal of his life.
From the notoriety of the people in trial to the notoriety of the attorneys, it was a circus.
while he's not accused of gunning anyone down, prosecutors say someone at the club taunted Combs that he and fellow rapper Jamal Shine Barrow pulled out guns and fired. Barrow's shots allegedly injured 3 people.
Puffy denied from the beginning that he ever fired a gun, that he ever had any guns in his possession.
I want to make this 100% clear. I had nothing to do with a shooting in this club.
During the trial, Puffy's looking around, he's very confident. Hey, I allegedly paid off people, so I have nothing to worry about. But then
Liar, liar, pants on fire. I decided to testify. I was the prosecution's main witness.
The most damaging testimony so far. His former driver.
Yes, I was nervous about cooperating, but I had to. You have to stand up for what's right in this world.
Henderson testified Holmes had a gun.
I was recanting my statement and no longer going along with their scheme to take ownership of the gun.
But Henderson wasn't the only witness to put a gun in Holmes' hand.
I had to testify. I said I saw it with no doubt who shot me. I was shot by Sean Puffy Combs. I've said that ever since that day, and never once ever changed that, modified it, modulated it in any way.
I never expected to be a part of such a reckless act of violence.
Natalia, she had the kind of resilience and defiance. My heart was with her.
The defense described it to us first calling their own witnesses to say he didn't have a gun in the night.
Most of the witnesses who came up said Shine had a gun, and we did not see a gun in Puffy's hand.
And second, discrediting the prosecution witnesses who put a gun in Puffy's hand.
Our lead defense attorney, his cross-examination was getting a bit aggressive. I says, I'm not the one on trial here today, Your Honor. He is. And I pointed and glared right over at Diddy.
Some people said this was a conspiracy.
People cursed me out, accusing me of trying to take down a good black man and destroy hip-hop.
My heart really, truly breaks for Natalia and what she has been through. Natalia deserved nothing but compassion and protection, and the culture failed her.
They were ridiculing me on the air saying, does anybody know this one-eyed hoe? Call us up and give us some dirt on her. Playing rapid succession gunfire soundtrack in the background. I was devastated. Why were they doing this to me?
After the shooting, Natalia, she was appearing on the radio and trying to tell her story to actually getting death threats.
I would look out the windows and there'd be blacked out SUVs parked on the corners by my house. Those SUVs were watching me. And for my own safety, I had to move it.
I'll never forget that day when the verdicts were read. A gasp went up in the courtroom.
I'm just really right now, I'm just very emotional. I'm at William Lund. I'm very emotional. I feel blessed.
It was like Mardi Gras. They all went out to celebrate. And not only was Sean Combs acquitted, but Anthony Wolf Jones was also acquitted. And of course, Chine Barrow was convicted.
I spoke to Shine. Shine says, look, he lied on the stand. He got people to lie for him. Puffy betrayed me. Those were his words. He went in there and he lied about the fact that he didn't have a gun. Everybody knew pretty much well who had a gun.
When I found out the verdict, I was shocked and disappointed at our legal system. But I was relieved because I did not want to be the guy that sent him to jail. I didn't want that for my own safety.
I was a child of hip-hop. I don't deserve this. I was a victim. I wanted justice.
Went to try and console Shine's mother, grandmother. As we left that day, there were still supporters outside, but no one really cared about him at that point. He was yesterday's news. When he was convicted, I got angry because there are families that are giving young people to you, Puffy. And you have a responsibility to these young people on your record label.
I think it was an attempt to take down another rap star. And I think that clearly we proved his innocence. He was in fact a victim that night. And I think you're going to see great things for the future.
worst, Shine took the fall.
There was a city college incident, Steve Stout incident, and the nightclub shooting.
He's getting this reputation of being a Teflon Don.
And that is a pattern that we continue to see, is that even when things are really, really bad, for other people, for Puffy, just a blip.
He was getting away with things for so long. But I believe the truth will always find its way, even in the dark.
Thanksgiving break in November of 2023. I got a call. Your rape was caught on tape. I said, what do you mean my rape was caught on tape?
He was seen to many people in the media as a safe person of color.
I am the American dream.
Who wouldn't want to be associated with him? Puff was the top.
But then everything changed.
Who would have thought that Cassie was going to be the one?
It's almost like a Greek tragedy.
I always believed that I was the only victim.
He said, now you're mine.
He said sometimes you just gotta let these hoes know who the boss is.
I feel like the drinks were spiked.
Puff said, keep your effing mouth shut.
People knew, and people kept quiet.
He looked at me and he said, you don't want to end up like my ex Cassie.
Hello.
I didn't even call Sean to tell him I was doing this. I don't want the public's perception to be swayed as if this is a payoff or if this is a favor. This is just brotherly love. So there was one day, me and Sean went up to my mom's house. My parents used to love to play blackjack. And everybody's sitting at the table playing cards and they see us come in. And at that time, we had the germ of fame. Had a record or two on the radio. They said, yo, play a hand of cards with us. Y'all got all the money. Sean didn't know how to play blackjack. We played one hand of cards with them. Cards is being dealt. Sean doesn't know to turn his card over and only reveal one. So he had both of his cards turned up and he wasn't hiding them. And people laughed. Boy, you better hide your cards. Don't be showing your cards. And he looked at me like, yo, what I got? I said, you good. Don't even worry about it. You gonna win. He said, what you mean? I said, you gonna win. Don't worry. You got 20. It takes 21 to win. He said, for real? He says, is it guaranteed that I win? I said, it ain't guaranteed, but shit, it's damn near guaranteed. I said, I want to be guaranteed I win. Give me another card. Everybody at the table looked at him like, boy, are you crazy? Dealer deals the card, and it's an ace. 21. The whole table went ham. Oh my God. who is this boy? Took all the money off the table, put it in his pocket, and we left. Everybody's yelling for him to come back. I said, no, I won. Who does that? That's Sean. All or nothing. That's it. That's who he is. You can never count them out. It's like the life of a cat. 9? Shit.
I think that what has happened in Buffy's life is the byproduct of extreme good fortune. And that extreme good fortune can also be a paradox of power. It's a yin and a yang. In order to get all the goodies, you've got to have this confidence that you can get all the goodies. And so Buffy created a cult of personality.
After the nightclub shooting, when he was acquitted, he went into PR overdrive.
Who said we had to have one name?
He rebranded himself as P. Diddy.
He wanted to put a clear divider between who he was